But my point has always been in my videos, Charlie, that let's wait for a bounce, a rally back to the averages like now, and then let's see if it fails from that level of resistance or succeeds and moves through that level of resistance.
Because when all the masses out there are negative towards something, it's probably going to do the opposite because the masses are usually wrong collectively.
Anyone who has a slightly bullish view on Bitcoin, they get suddenly attacked. There are people out there who get angry at you, at the analyst, if they express even a slightly bullish view.
The market is there to do a job on people, trying to throw as many people off as
Yes,
possible.
yes.
I'm just going to go personally overall with those odds.
Do you see 100K being tested on the horizon? I mean, it's not far away. And I think the key question is this. The moment of truth is, all right, guys, hello and welcome. We're joined here by my good friend and trader, Charlie Burton of charlieburtontrading.com. This should be quite an interesting video because, as I'm sure you've probably seen yourself, Bitcoin has had a nice bounce. A bounce, by the way, we've been expecting. We got very close, by the way, to a key level on the chart. Some of you know which key level I'm referring to. So, guys, let's dig into the charts. Charlie, how are you doing, by the way? You well? Did you have a good break over Christmas and Happy New Year to you?
Yeah, Happy New Year. Yeah, it was good. We went down to the southwest of the UK over the New Year period, so it's down by the ocean. So it was great.
All right, guys. So we're going to the chart of Bitcoin. This is a weekly chart of Bitcoin, as we can see here. On the daily chart, we can see that bounce quite nicely there. We've already tested a level, which I mentioned in the member video. It's the 100 daily moving average. That's the orange line there on my chart. And we look at the weekly chart. Guys, I've been saying this so many times. If you watch my previous videos, in previous member videos, and in previous YouTube videos, I mentioned many times that we should wait for a bounce at the very least towards the weekly 21 EMA, which is right there, that blue line. Has that happened on the price of Bitcoin right now? Bitcoin has not yet rallied or bounced correctively towards the resistance level at the weekly 21 EMA. And by the way, I think that's going to happen in the next several weeks. I think likely as we enter 2026, perhaps in the beginning of 2026, we may very well see some kind of a strong bounce or rally towards the weekly 21 EMA. And that's going to give us clues as to whether we're entering a bear market or not. There's potential here for Bitcoin, again, to test this 21 weekly moving average here, which is approximately moving into the region between 98 to 96K. Now, we haven't got there just yet, very close. But I think, actually, we're going to discuss in this video whether we can test that level and potentially even reach 100K or not. So that's why I have Charlie Burton here. Charlie, very nice bounce so far. Charlie, before I get your view, one other thing I wanted to mention here is this, which is that if I put this here on my chart, we're actually also tested two levels here. We tested the 61.8% golden ratio retracement, the decline that started in this part of November. We tested the 61.8% golden ratio level. And if we go to the weekly chart, if we measure the retracement from the all-time highs of Bitcoin, so if I just get my pen here, so that's the highs. We measure from this high to this low, the 38.2% Fibonacci level is at 98,200, which I believe we came very close to. Yeah, merging with that 21 weekly moving average there. So it may come to that level. That's actually my expectation. I actually think we could come a bit higher and test the 21 weekly, that approximate 98 to 99K region there. There are many people who are watching this video right now, Charlie, who've already made up their minds that Bitcoin is in a bear market. They're saying, no, Bitcoin is in a bear market. They're expecting Bitcoin, because they're very bearish on Bitcoin, they're expecting Bitcoin to drop down eventually to 50K to 25K. In my previous video, I explained that I am not of that view until we get confirmation. Confirmation would come to wait for a bounce, and then let's see if it fails or not. Now, we got the bounce. We haven't got yet to the 21 weekly yet. But my point has always been in my videos, Charlie, that let's wait for a bounce, a rally back to the averages like now, and then let's see if it fails from that level of resistance or succeeds and moves through that level of resistance. And until we see what happens in the next several weeks, whether it fails or not, I'm not as yet of the view that we're in a bear market. I need to see confirmation.
There's an old phrase. I don't know if you want to bring it up or not, but on the monthly chart, it
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
zooms that out a little bit there, as you've covered
Let's
off on
get
the
it. Let's get
weekly.
it.
There's an old saying in trading that you should fade the short-term trend in favor of the longer-term trend. So when we're looking at the monthly chart here, what's the short-term trend? Well, to the downside. So you fade that. You do the opposite of the short-term trend in favor of the longer-term trend. So
Mm.
to me, in my mind, much like to you, I'm seeing this as just a pullback within the longer-term trend at the moment. And in fact, and I know we'll probably talk about this, sentiment is so negative towards
Very
the likes
much,
of
yeah.
Bitcoin at the moment that I think that it's probably in a good position because when all the masses out there are negative towards something, it's probably going to do the opposite because the masses are usually wrong collectively.
What Charlie just mentioned about sentiment is very important. Before we talk about that, first of all, guys, if you haven't yet signed up to the joint course that Charlie and I are doing this Sunday, 18th of January, make sure you do so. Guys, it's still not too late. You can still get the discount rate. Go to this link you see right there. Charlie's going to cover important training on how to trade the markets, and I'll be covering technical analysis, some important research on technical analysis, full details on the page, and Charlie and I will cover that again at the end of the video.
Oh, and just note as well,
Yeah.
if even if people can't attend live, it's all fully recorded.
Okay, guys, let's go back to the chart of Bitcoin. Charlie, you mentioned sentiment. And I think it's
Mm,
really important to mention this because I noticed the last time I posted a video about Bitcoin, almost some weeks ago, anyone who has a slightly bullish view on Bitcoin, they get suddenly attacked, by the, unfortunately, I can only say by the mob on social media. And they say, no, how can you be bullish on Bitcoin? We're in a bear market. So a lot of folks out there have already made up their mind, especially from reading the comments. And they're
mm.
saying, no, you cannot possibly. In other words, they get angry at you. They literally, there are people out there who get angry at you, at the analyst, if they express a slightly, even a slightly bullish view. Okay, even for a bounce or a rally.
Until proven otherwise, as you quite rightly said, if this becomes a dead cat bounce and we roll back over and break down below the most these lows, then yes, it will then increase the probability that there is a larger correction at play. But until proven otherwise, this is still within an overall upwards trend and it's starting to rotate back to the upside over the last few weeks. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm still bullish towards it at the moment, unless it goes and confirms back to the downside, which it hasn't done as yet.
If you look back at the amount of times that Bitcoin has dropped by 20%, you get so many false signals because
Mm.
many times Bitcoin drops by 20% or more and then it recovers. So
Yeah.
to me, that is a very unreliable measure. And because, the reason I mention this is because people said to me in my last video, they said, Alessio, Bitcoin has dropped by 20%. So definitely we're in a bear market. And I replied, look, if that's your measure of bear market, you're going to get a lot of false signals. But I agree with you, Charlie, that again, I'm still leaning towards the bullish side unless the bullish case gets rejected. In other words, if it fails. For people who are wondering, well, how would we know that bullish case has got rejected? As Charlie said, if we break support, like if we break below the January lows or December lows, that would very likely confirm the bearish case. But I think you're absolutely right that there are many positive and bullish factors, like you mentioned the monthly chart, which is the monthly chart shows that we've held the 21 monthly average. Sorry, Charlie, go back to what you were saying.
Well, I think that's the thing. It's the classic setup, really. It's just a pullback until at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, the market is there to do a job on people. And and it's like a bucking bronco trying to throw as many people off as
Yes.
possible.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so when we see if everyone was bullish right now, I would probably be a little bit more cautious because the
Yeah.
masses are normally wrong. I'm not talking about every single person, but en masse, if
Yeah.
a large percentage of people are bearish towards a market, even though it's actually still technically within an upwards trend, I'm going to look at that and say, yeah, okay, it's probably going to go up because you have to bear in mind that most people around the world who are investing or trading, the majority of them are usually wrong.
Mm.
It's only a smaller minority of traders and investors who are right. So when it comes to something like this, Bitcoin's just pulled back technically. The larger majority are there's of course there's going to be plenty of people out there who will be bullish towards it right now, but
Yeah.
there's a decent majority out there who are very bearish towards it.
Mhm.
I'll take the opposite of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And let me just say this, guys. I know there's some people watching this video who disagree with us. And I know there's some people watching this who are saying, no, Bitcoin is in a bear market. My point is, listen, you guys could be right too. It's
Mm,
possible. It's possible that the bear market may have started on Bitcoin. I'm not saying that we're right and you guys are wrong, definitely 100%. That's not what I'm saying. My point has always been in my videos, let's take a wait and see approach, which is my view is, and I think Charlie was saying the same thing. Look, we've had a bounce back to the averages. And I know I'm saying this again, and people are going to say you're repeating yourself. Okay, I'll repeat this 1,000 times, guys, because it's so important. I don't care if you guys criticize me and saying I'm repeating myself. I'll repeat this 1,000 times because people forget this. Wait, I said in my last video, and I've said it before. Wait for price to bounce back to the averages, just like in previous times. Okay, it's bouncing back to the 21 weekly or resistance. Let's see if price holds that resistance and gets rejected, in other words, fails from a level, in which case then that would confirm a bear market. Okay. Like, for example, in the year 2022, I showed this in my previous video. Bitcoin bounced back to the 21 weekly moving average, got rejected, and then that's, in other words, that confirmed a bear market. I think we're bouncing back to the 21 weekly. We're not far away. I mean, this could be it. And let's see. Let's see if Bitcoin succeeds to move through that resistance, in which case they would reconfirm a bull market, or whether we get rejected and fail from this level. Okay, in which case they would confirm a bear market, especially if it breaks support. Okay, so my view has always been, let's be patient, take a wait and see approach. Okay, and then with more information, then we can make a better decision.
In any one situation, anyone could be right. So on
Yes.
this, yeah,
Yeah.
Bitcoin could roll over, and technically, like you said, I'd be the same if it rolls over. And yeah, fine. If it breaks back down some of those levels, yes, then we've probably got a larger correction on. But it doesn't matter. I think this is the thing that I see on social media with investors. They get so caught up on trying to be right. What does it matter if you are wrong on
Yeah.
on a view? Whereas people get really caught up on trying to be right. So to me, if we had 100 situations like this where you've got an overall upwards trend and it's just a pullback within that upwards trend, well,
Exactly.
far greater than 50% of the time, the market will then just naturally transition higher. It won't do it 100% of the time. The odds favor that this is still a bull trend, and that the trend will resume. Um,
Yeah.
but of course, on any one individual time, we don't know 100%. I'm just going to go personally overall with those odds that the trend is your friend,
Yeah.
and
I
stay with
agree.
that.
I totally agree. I mean, just looking at this monthly chart that you mentioned, Charlie, again, there's the 21 monthly average, which we pulled back to. We've held it so far.
Mm.
Bitcoin held that level so far. So that's why I'm remaining cautiously bullish still, or at least, again, taking a wait and see approach, as I mentioned before. Two questions I have for you, Charlie, before we finish this video. Number one, let's just answer them very quickly. Do you see 100K being tested on the horizon? I mean, it's not far away. And do you think that at that level, if we test 100K, do you think some kind of pullback, because it's a major resistance, psychological resistance, 100K,
Mhm.
do you see that as a level where we might see a pullback from 100K? Maybe I don't mean a pullback, I don't mean a crash. I'm
Mm.
talking about a pullback here. So
A reaction. I would always
yeah.
anticipate a reaction to a key level around
Mhm.
that 100,000 zone. I would at least expect it. Whether it happens, it's not to say that Bitcoin couldn't just blast through it, but I would always anticipate a reaction to a
Yeah.
to a key level like that, and then you
Mhm.
at least you're prepared for that. Then, if we have a bit of a reaction to it, like you said, whether it completely rolls over is another matter. But I would at least anticipate as we come up into that resistance zone that the market may well find sellers, because people will
Yeah.
naturally bank some profit at that level. You'll have fresh short sellers coming into that zone because they'll look at it
Yeah.
as a resistance zone as well. So you would
Yeah.
normally expect some sort of reaction.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee it's going to react, but we are constantly dealing with odds, probabilities. So the probability suggests that there should be some kind of reaction, but and then we'll take it
Yeah.
from there.
And
But
the key question is, and I think the key question is this, the moment of truth is whether Bitcoin is going to be able to successfully break through that 100K resistance and move back into a bull market. In other words,
mhm.
continue the uptrend, or the opposite, whether it's going to fail from this level and then fall into a bear market. In other words, a downtrend. And that's the moment of truth here. By the way, guys, make sure you watch the full analysis that Charlie and I did both on the stock markets, Bitcoin and gold and silver. That's in the member video. And guys, as I mentioned before, this Sunday, 18th of January, Charlie and I are doing a joint course. I'm going to cover the technical analysis side in this educational class that we're doing on Sunday. And Charlie's going to cover the trading aspect. In other words, Charlie's going to share with you his experience, I think 28 or so years of trading experience that Charlie has. He's going to share that with you in this particular class. Definitely don't miss it. The link is right there, Pro Trading Workshop. And guys, remember that Charlie has kept a discount for you until Sunday. So go ahead and check it out. And remember, the recording of the class will be sent to you, even if you cannot attend. Thanks very much indeed, guys. And thanks, Charlie. Much appreciated.
No, thanks. As always love having a chat about the markets.